All right. Hey, True Believers England team here. And this week we are going to be talking about the greatest miniseries, comic book miniseries of all time. Not any other, not TV miniseries, which would be Shogun, but, I'm talking about the original. Just watched it. It's awesome. But no, this is something. This was fun reading. I wish I could say I read a miniseries a day, but it became Wednesday. I was like, holy shit, I got to do some reading. So I read it up to remind me what these stories were and such. Got 4 awesome, and I got pictures for you guys. I asked you if you're going to participate, let us know what miniseries you want to choose so I can actually put the cover up there and I'm not chasing them as we're talking about them and everything. I also was thinking, of course, this is something we can always go back to it because you talk about, oh, these are 4 great ones, but there's so many more out there, as you guys proved by making your suggestions. And what's going to happen, we're going to do them one at a time. I'm going to put the 1, you guys put your first. I'm going to put the 2, you guys put your second. I'm going to put the 3, you guys put your third, and fourth. And yeah, that way you guys aren't putting your whole list in the first thing. There you go. That being said,
and if you want to put them all up at once, he's not the boss of you. Do what you want.
Yeah, it's just I'm going to pay attention to them as they go because I don't have that kind of span left. All righty, let's.
you won't got to keep up with it if they do it right.
That's true. That's true. But I have a better chance.
Half hour ago.
Right. Let's see. I'm not sure there actually is a winner tonight. Says one. Well, me. If you guys haven't heard, if you're not part of the Sports Ball and Comics Twitter group, which is basically just a bunch of people from here, I accidentally I was putting a bid on a comic. I was actually surprised it was as low as it is because this is like a 5.5, maybe a 6 from the pictures. It's the first appearance of Batman Detective Comics. It's first appearance of Catman in Batman Detective Comics. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's at $20. Okay, I'm going to pump that up to $21.54. Let's see where this goes. And instead, when I went 21.54, and if you guys have seen my titles where it says greatest comic box, I hit it so quick, it doesn't go, and I missed the decimal point. So I bid $2,154 on this comic. So, hey, I won that. I got that. But thankfully, it only went to 134. Woo! Okay. Let's go for our...
What issue was that?
It's like Detective Comics 311, I want to say.
And so you're on the hook for $130?
100. Thankfully, it's not the only comic. So I can say I prorate. But that's kind of backwards because it's like, wow, okay, I got 20 other things. All right, 20, actually looking at maybe $6 or $7. It's like, woo, okay, I only paid $6 or $7, if you prorate this thing. Actually, it's 150. I only paid 150 instead of just one book for 136. I paid for 20 at 156. And that's awesome. Except it goes backwards too, because it's like, oh, okay, well, you paid that much for the Catman, but I paid that much for like Alpha Flight number 6 or something like that. So I don't know. Anyway, let's get this thing going. Eric, what is your first story you want to talk about?
Well, what I want to talk about is Final Night, but I forgot to read it, mainly because I have to move too many boxes to get to it. I don't get to trade for some inexplicable reason.
Yeah.
But I got to think, there are miniseries that are events with, tie-ins and blah, blah, blah. And then there's the straight miniseries. So my first one's going to be the straight miniseries, the first Hawkeye from 1983.
We're not going to do it next week, but we will do events, and you can bring that up for that. Give you time to to talk about that. But for now, Hawkeye, sir.
Okay, from what I recall and what little bit of research I did to remind myself, he's working for CTE, Cross Technology Enterprises or something like that. And he's like the head of security, and he's dating one of the ladies that works there, one of the executives there. So Sheila Danning, I think I remember her name being from when I looked it up earlier today. And anyway, there's a break-in, he stops it. They kidnap her, so they kidnap his the woman he's involved with. So he surrenders, and they throw him in this well with Mockingbird, who I guess is on the case also. And he finds out that the woman he's in love with is actually one of the bad guys. So he just kind of gives up. And then Mockingbird, proving she's going to be a good wife, starts nagging him right there. Basically nags him into saving them. And I can't really remember a lot of the stuff that happens in the miniseries. I know they fight somebody who, oh God, was it 8 Ball or something? I don't remember. But the kickers at the end of the miniseries. Yep. And I think now that everything's a joke at Marvel, I think he's a kind of a hero now, but no cares. But they get married at the end of the series. And Hawkeye, I can't remember if it's in this miniseries where he loses a lot of his hearing, but it's very closely tied to what was going on in the Avengers. And right after that, this leads to something I hope somebody picked, the West Coast Avengers miniseries. But everything about the Avengers was going really well at this time, and this miniseries fit right in.
All right. Goodness gracious. Let's see. It's nice to finally see comics on the wall behind you, says one slick. Yeah, isn't it though? And I'm sure that my neighbors were very, very happy with dunk, 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 dunk for I don't know how long it took, about an hour or two. I look over at my wife, but she is playing her game. She is in her own world. Alrighty. Okay, so by the way, this the Hawkeye miniseries, Eric, myself, and RDV did a video here. So go to search after this. Go to search and check it out. We actually did an issue-by-issue retrospective on this one. It is really good miniseries, a lot of fun, great 1980s stuff. And I would love it if you did. I like it when older videos get a visual, a view count boost. That being said, what would be my first? Didn't mine all load up? It's telling me it couldn't load up all of the images that I tried to load up. So what do I have? Oh, you know what? I talked about this in the moment. So let me talk about it in miniseries. I actually got 2 Neil Gaiman. This is the Books of Magic. And yes, I can bring this one. This is the one I bought. You can see it's very well read. This is one I bought when it first came out. And I have read this countless times. So we meet a guy named Tim Hunter. It's basically Harry Potter 10 years before Harry Potter was created. And you have the Phantom Stranger, John Constantine, Dr. Occult, and Mr. E. And they are going to teach this young kid about magic because he's supposed to grow up to be one of the most powerful sorcerers of all time. And what they do is they take him through the world of DC Magic, which, of course, is them taking the reader through the world of DC Magic. It starts off, you have, hey, Dominic. It starts off, you have with Phantom Stranger takes Tim to see the history of the DC Magic universe. And then Dr. Occult takes him through the land of fairy and the different dimensions of magic. And you have John Constantine taking him through the modern day magic, which is, of course, where I had the greatest moments. And in the fourth one, you have Mr. E take him to the future of magic. But Mr. E is kind of a nut bar who sees evil everywhere, and he takes him to the end of time and decides to leave him there or kill him and leave him. It's a great miniseries. One of my favorite. Back when I was about to say Neil Diamond. We just saw Love and Thunder. Back when Neil Gaiman knew how to write. But even then, I thought it was hit or miss. But that is definitely a hit. So yeah, my first choice, Books of Magic. If you haven't read it, check it out. Have you, Eric? You said you didn't read it. Dom?
Yeah, I've read Books of Magic.
And what did you think?
Well, it remains like one of the best miniseries, made not just by DC, but really in comic book history. Because like we have a new character of Tim Hunter who pretty much predates Harry Potter. But also like through game and saying like he really used the history of the DC universe to his advantage, especially expanding the mystic side of said universe, much like how Jim Starlin he helped expand the cosmic side of the Marvel universe.
All right. So what do you have, or do you have one to talk about?
Well, has anyone brought up JSA the Golden Age?
It just so happens that someone in the chat picked it out for their own, so I will pop that up. And yeah.
How much? Well, that would be mine. That'd be mine from DC Comics. JSA the Golden Age. I mean, what can I say? Hey, remember James Robinson? He's been in the comic book industry for years. Like even when he was actually when he was an Image, when he actually took over Wildcat, because he helped to like elevate it in the writing quality. And then when Alan Moore took over, or like he continued on that trajectory. And with Robinson, like he showcased as like an Elseworlds of the DC universe, or like showcasing these heroes. Like active and even like becoming involved in various like moments in history. In this case, like the Red Scare at the time. But also like he created a mystery, and what I appreciate is this is pretty much DC's like Watchmen, but it's more optimistic.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually one of my. I didn't put it this time, but I always said we can always come back to these. But Golden Age is a fantastic miniseries.
I agree.
The whole point. Oh, by the way, the guy who there's a superhero. He's like a third, fourth-rate superhero. Fighting Yank, I think was his name.
Yeah, the Fighting Yank.
Yeah, but he actually, by the way, started as a Western comic book character in Action Comics #1.
That's true.
Not a lot of people know that. But so he does have some history. And this guy who, like I said, third-rate hero comes back the hero of World War II. And in doing so, he becomes a politician. He starts gaining all sorts of control. Of course, I'm not going to spoil the ending here, but we find out a big twist on him, and he ends up going into battle against basically the JSA, and it not just the JSA, but also the like Fighting Soldiers of Liberty and goodness gracious, who am I thinking of with Stripesy and Green Arrow, or is that who I just said?
I thought the Seven Soldiers of Victory.
Seven Soldiers of Victory. That's who I'm talking about. The art is fantastic. The story is absolutely awesome. I like you find out that Our Man's powers are waning. Not that they're waning, but they don't last as long because he is so used to the drug and he's a junkie for the Miraclo. I love that particular edition. Absolutely entertaining book. Highly recommend it if you guys have not checked this one out.
No, it really is. And funny, even though like Golden Age like isn't Elseworlds, like aspects of it they did show up like in the main like Earth of the DC universe, like New Earth. But in this case, like the history like of the JSA and the other Golden Age heroes is different from like how they're presented in Golden Age. But there are parallels between it as well as the original like Elseworlds miniseries.
All right. And with that, let's go to the chat, see what they're saying is there first. If if I have the picture for it, I will definitely bring it up while we can talk about it. Let's see. I go back to the first one and put my number one as Hawkeye, which we just talked about. Alrighty. Then we
nice.
have
Good choice.
one slick dude who says Fisto versus, and I do know before we talk about it that is one. Nope, that's the wrong one. I know it didn't. It was one of those that didn't load. Excuse me, guys. But if you want to say something about this as I'm getting the picture there, Eric, I know I have it available. No? Okay. As a matter of fact, both of them muted on me there. Okay, come on. I deleted a couple. Let's add this guy's.
Fisto versus F. Ooh, now these are good ones, and they still hold up.
There you go. All righty. So what do you know and what can you talk about here? Because I actually have not read these in so long. I have no idea what to say about them. If you guys, when you bring up the miniseries you want talked about, tell us why. It was versus each group individually. Yeah, have you read this, Eric? Otherwise, I just guess I'm going to pass on there. Okay.
It's been a while since I haven't read this since the 80s.
Yeah. All right. Let's. Sorry, one slick. Let's see.
I've read this before in the past. It remains like much like with Golden Age. It's like it remains like one of the best miniseries from Marvel Comics because you have like the various heroes facing off with Mephisto, who is a recurring big bad of the Marvel universe because he is like a devil only residing in Marvel's hell, but not the devil.
Okay. Let's see. England team. This is number one, Fantastic Four: The End, written and drawn by Alan Davis. I hope that you have some covers. I was talking to Eric Breen, and he can't remember it. I can't either. And plus, you sent a message, by the way, and you hit the 4 issues and all that. And you know what I did? I got to go hunting for them because I will get back to this one. Because I actually added it to the cover rankings. I thought, I misinterpreted, but we will have a cover ranking, by the way, featuring Fantastic Four: The End, Wolverine. I forgot the others that I thought you were mentioning for cover rankings. I don't know how my brain doesn't work, but for now, let's move on a little bit and we'll get back to Henry as I get some covers for him. There were a lot of end titles in the inimitable fashion. Chris Claremont had to have 3 6 issues, X-Men the End series. I thought about that Hawkeye series, but I picked West Coast Avengers 4-issue miniseries. Okay, we're going to get back to Henry in just a second. The Golden Age looks like a Watchmen ripoff, but which one was first? Well, the Watchmen. But it was awesome. Do not pass up the Golden Age because it looks like the rest. No,
No,
trust me.
Also,
it's its own fucking animal. Yeah.
Not to mention with Golden Age, it's more optimistic than Watchmen.
Also, Lord of Brooklyn saying the Golden Age, an excellent pick in my choice. Alrighty, and let's see. England team bastard also stole my cover pick. Wait, what? First of all, my parents were married. Thank you very much. Is the Golden Age good for anyone new to JSA? Yes. Yeah. What they actually, the first couple of issues is they introduce you to the characters. They tell you not only who they are, but who they were. So you can pick up on it quite easily. All right. There we go. Go ahead.
Well, in spite of Golden Age as being an Elseworld, so like it is a nice it's a nice gateway to the JSA and other Golden Age heroes of the DC universe. as Golden Age villains.
Alrighty, give just a second here, kids. Here we go. Excuse me. And just to be fair, because I screwed up, he did not. On the other hand, he's got some cover picks, so that's awesome. Let's see. Let me add this. Excuse me. And we will get rid of this one. I thought this is I wanted to avoid this right here, and I kind of screwed up. But here we go. So, all right. This is Fantastic Four: The End that Henry was talking about. Let me get to the comment that he was mentioning. He says, Fantastic Four: The End, written and drawn by Alan Davis. All he asks was that I have some covers. Here's the cover. This is a Henry Jeremic pick. Have either of you two read this enough to talk about? Because this is my dark period for comics. I wasn't reading comics through this at all.
I probably did, but I do not remember it.
All right.
It's been a while, but I have read Fantastic Four: The End on top of X-Men: The End. If I recall correctly, earlier this is the final battle between like the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom.
All right. Boom, boom. Oh, by the way, also I was I'm kind of happy I did.
Like helps. Well, the cover done by Alan Davis like really helped sell the first issue of this miniseries.
Down. Wolverine and Hercules. Okay. You're doing well. You just need to cover 4 more of my picks as Lord of Brooklyn. Well, you know what? I didn't add all 5. I only added 4. The first 4 because that's what we were doing. Let me grab this down and we will go to the next round. All righty, and here we go. Let's see. We will take care of this one. And Eric, second pick, sir.
Dom, can you go ahead of me on this one?
Okay, Dom, second pick, sir.
The original Gen 13 miniseries.
All righty. Now, granted, here's the thing. Dom did not give me anything in advance, so I actually don't have covers for Dom. I apologize. But there you go. Please talk about the original Gen 13 miniseries, sir.
Well, let's see. Well, the original miniseries is written by both Braden Choi and Jim Lee, and the art was done by J. Scott Campbell, who's continued on right for the ongoing Volume 2. So, well, when the Image... So when Wildstorm was actually still part of the wider Image universe, because each of the titles were actually interconnected with one another by making references, for instance, to what's going on in the wider universe. You know that with Gen 13, they pretty much was taking the motif of like the New Mutants, because Caitlin Fairchild, and the other founding members, like they are the children of Team 7. So like who are the excuse me, the Image universe and later they're like the Wildstorm universe versus like incarnation of Weapon X. No, well the Weapon X will be Alia with Weapon X, but with the Team 7 it'll be Team X. And it's because like they inherited the gen factor from their parents, in this case their fathers. And with IO, they want to use them like for their own purposes. So what I appreciate about issue 1 of the miniseries, like it immediately establishes like what the story is about, as well as like the conflict and stakes, things like that will befall on Caitlin and the other future members of Gen 13. Because they do carry the motif of like the New Mutants, and it's because as I mentioned earlier, they are the children of Team 7. But at the same time, so like it was pretty much what would happen if you mix New Mutants with the Fugitive, because with Gen 13, they like that to well, while they still go on like variety adventures, they still had to like be one step ahead of IO, so they don't capture them.
I got to admit, never read it. It's just one of those things. I think I've read a few issues, but never read the miniseries. Yeah. All righty. Let's go to Eric.
All right.
What is your second series, sir?
Give me a second. Of course they wouldn't. I'm gonna go with the Man of Steel.
All righty. Let's see. I know somebody picked that as well. Okay. That was one of the ones that didn't load. So go right on ahead, start talking. I'll bring up the cover in just a second.
Okay. Now, rats, you're gonna ruin the bet. You were gonna put it up. No, I was talking about the Bendis one.
Oh, okay. All righty. I will get the Bendis one. No fucking way. That is serious.
It's hard to believe that this is now, close to 40 years. And
right?
I had already been reading for about 10, give or take 10 or 11 years by this point. And DC comics were always nice and fun, there'd be a couple books here and there, like Teen Titans and Legion, Batman, depending on who was writing it. But a lot of DC comics, they were good, but they didn't compare to Marvel. I mean, it was unfair how much better Marvel comics were than DC. Just, up and down the line. Well, Crisis was designed to change that. But then, the Crisis came and went, and they hadn't released any of their new look DC titles yet. And this was the one that started it. And they took their flagship character because, in reality, like I said, big as Batman is, Superman is, at the time was the flagship character, and turned it completely upside down and changed everything about it. Now, looking back 40 years later, I can see how people reacted to that kind of the same way I reacted to the New 52, because it was that stark a difference. And they took Superman, and with each issue, they picked a part of the Superman mythos, and Byrne gave his new take on it. The first one was him growing up and becoming Superman. Let's see, the second, I'm trying to remember the second one. I should have, okay, good grief, this is how bad my memory's gotten. This first, the second issue, if I'm not mistaken, was him learning how to, getting out into the world as Superman. The third one, his first meeting with Batman, we find out that the world's finest friendship was no more, and how they set that up. Then there was the one, that redefined Lois Lane. There was the one that reintroduced Lex Luthor as a business tycoon, ruthless. If you got in his way, you got disappeared. Then there was the Bizarro issue, and then the one dealt with his Kryptonian heritage. But everything that you knew, you only say everything you thought you knew was wrong. Well, this was a case where that was actually the truth. And it was an unbelievable time to be reading, because it was just, Superman was a book you read and forgot. This Superman, you weren't going to forget anytime soon. And it was, like I said, it was to
When
me a
you
creative
and I did, we both mentioned this as being the best of. It's and it's well deserved. It's an amazing miniseries, and it, like I said, it actually redefined the Superman mythos piece by piece. The miniseries did, and thankfully they continued the quality into the series.
Yeah, and actually, the problem with DC heroes was they were so overpowered that they had to come up with a lot, especially Superman. A lot of the stories you read over the years were just silly because the only way to combat a character that could, move a planet with his pinky is to, get into super buffoonery or super silliness. And
the weird thing is, a lot of that kind of stuff was built out of the fact that they were writing for kids. Hey, look, he's moving a planet, kids. And
then you had the Flash that could circle the globe several times in a second. And realistically, there's no way to beat either one of them.
Right.
So they magic messed with Superman. What messed with the Flash? It said always a Green Lantern, his ring could do anything. The Spectre was more powerful than them. I mean, it's like, how do you take Batman seriously in that world? Honestly. The Crisis and what they did after that made the characters more believable because Superman was still super strong, but more of like a Thor or Hulk, not just like I said. It took the ridiculousness out of the mythos and brought it. This was the first time that the man came before the super.
Yep. The I told you I started rereading Slugfest, which is about Marvel versus DC, and all throughout, after Mort Weisinger was forced to shut up, you start seeing a lot of writers and such come in, and they're trying to write like Marvel, and they're trying to be, because Marvel's been kicking their asses because the corporates wouldn't allow DC to actually write characters. And I got to tell you, while they did improve, in the 70s and such, I think they really nailed it after the Crisis. I think you started seeing every character be just a little bit better. The only one, of course, Hawkman, they can never reconcile what to do with him, but still, I think Hawkworld was definitely a step up. That's just it. But this is absolutely, in my opinion, the greatest iteration of Superman.
I agree.
Hands down. Hands down. Hands down.
No, me too.
All right, Dom, what do you pick? What is your second pick?
Oh, really? I thought Gen. Wait, I already told you it's Gen 13.
Oh, that's right. You already went. It's my turn. Hey, kids, it's my turn. Woo! All righty. Let's see. What do I want to talk about next? Let's see. What do I have up here already waiting for me? You know what? I'm going to talk about. We talked about Bone in a cover ranking. Let's talk about another Jeff Smith book, Shazam and the Monster Society of Evil. And kids,
Hey, that remains one of
I got pictures.
No, that's good. Like, this remains like one of the best miniseries for Captain Marvel.
Oh, it flat out is. It is drawn in his series, and you could say he makes Billy Batson look a little too young as he's drawing. This is how he draws him.
Right.
But it works. He's they really do steer into his homelessness. They make sure that they create a world for him before he gets his powers. But as soon as he does, it is all fantasy and superheroes. I mean, it's a great freaking miniseries.
You can tell Mr. Smith understood the homework and exceeded expectations.
Yep, the big baddies are these gigantic monsters that show up in Central Park. I'm trying to find a picture of them. But before they show up as monsters, it's just these 2 footprints in Central Park. And everybody's talking about how they look like crop circles and everything. And then the monsters appear, and they're these gigantic bulbous things. And we find out that Dr. Savannah is responsible. But of course, turns out there's another big baddie behind them. And in these giant robots is the little itty bitty worm, Mr. Mind. It is so much fun. And that's the main reason I like this. This is just a hell of a fun book to read. And it's a quick read also. I sat down just for about 5 or 10 minutes to kind of and I actually went through half the book. Just a lot of fun. It's absolutely a recommend. If you have not checked this out, do yourself a favor. It's amazing. If you get the hardcover, also the cover unfolds into a poster. Which now that I'm thinking about it, Gail told me she's always wanted a poster of Captain Marvel on her wall. So I'm thinking, honey, I will grant you that wish. I'll get a frame and we will put this on the wall. Yeah, she's always asked.
Much like the power of Shazam, Shazam, the Monster Society of Evil. It's also it remains like one of the best entry points. For anyone that wants to get to know Billy Batson, aka Captain Marvel, better.
Yep. One at a time there, Maranya. Okay, so let's go to the chat and see what the second is for them. By the way, I put in round 2, and I swear to gosh, it says YouTube rejected your comment. This usually means they think it's spam. It's my channel, and they said it was spam. Go figure. Let's see. Dude, here you go. We could talk about this. I'm glad someone picked this out.
Lombo Hunters. All right.
Okay, now this has come up before on this channel. I did a show with we did a show. I forget who else it was. I know Gary from Nerdrotic was there. And we were talking about, that's right. I think it was a Thunderdome. And we were talking about the topic was a comic book event that stayed, that the events of that comic book have stuck around. And this was my pick because after this, Green Arrow, anytime he picks up a boxing glove arrow or a net arrow or something like that, it's always in joking reference to what he did in the past. It's fantastic. You want to talk about a rewriting of a character? This is it. We get Green Arrow. I believe it was Seattle he's in. Black Canary is opening up a flower shop. By the way, get this, Gail, get this as a flower shop name. Sherwood Florist. How is that a first? Somebody didn't think of it except for a comic book, and then it became it. That is the fucking perfect name for a florist, Sherwood Florist. That is awesome. I love that.
I agree. One
Go ahead, man.
What not a lot of people don't know about Dinah is she's not a natural blonde. She's actually a brunette, but she wears a wig. So whenever she goes out as like Black Canary, it's in honor of her mom. Lombo Hunters, it is. This is the definition of how, much like with Man of Steel, and this is how you redefine a character correctly. At the same time, you maintain the essence of what made them who they are before Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I would go so far as to say also this book is grittier or as gritty as anything that Batman has ever been put into.
I agree.
At some point, Black Canary gets kidnapped, and when Green Arrow finds him, the first thing you see is one of the bad guys with an arrow. So it's like, okay, so he's not around anymore. This is absolutely fantastic. All 3 issues. It starts off, of course, he's going after a serial killer. Oh, wait, no, he's hunting for Black Canary. Then he's going after a serial killer, and then there's a drug dealer or something along those lines, and an arms dealer or something. Just amazing. Eric, do you have anything to say about this one?
You said something that I've always remembered, that everything from all this, like everything in Man of Steel has been undone.
Right.
Well, actually, everything from this has been undone too, unfortunately, by lesser writers. But this lasted for a long, long time as the true Green Arrow.
And it's still talked about to this day.
Oh yeah, they do. But yeah, it's yeah. But now what is Green Arrow, about 25 in the DC universe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
so basically everything was undone by the 52.
Yeah, well, this was if Man of Steel was the best of this time period, this was 1A. Because I don't even think about this when I think about comic book miniseries, because this kind of transcended comics. Because in this series, in this run, we talked about it, there was very little in that series that couldn't have happened in the real world. That I said, very minimal usage of DC villains and whatnot. And I think we were trying to figure out if they even used Merlin while Grell was writing it. This was a very This was like if you made a good spy novel into a comic book, because there were a lot of elements of what would make for, and not over the top like James Bond, or not super depressing like John Le Carre, but just a great you know what I'm trying to say. This was great.
Mm-hmm. We understand.
Also, 2 things that I thought were really handled well. Oliver Queen's a dick, and he's a womanizer. He says he loves he says he loves Diana, but he is a womanizer.
Dinah.
What did I say? Diana? Yeah, Dinah. Thank you. He any port in the storm, basically, as well as they did allow him to age.
Mm-hmm.
He was there with Bruce Wayne. He was a comic book hero, as a superhero right after. He modeled himself after Batman, Arrow Cave, the whole 9 yards. I love, by the way, in Injustice. Why didn't you call it the Quiver? But it's they allowed Oliver Queen to age in this series, to the point where when the Justice League came calling, they knock on his door and they say, "Hey, look, I'm not interested." And they go, "Yeah, we're not here for you." And they bring Speedy along. I think that was one of the better things as well. Anyway, absolutely fantastic choice there. One Slick. Let's move on. What is the next one? Oh, here's one Eric can talk about. Jackson Roykirk, and I know that Henry Jeremick is saying the same thing here, and that is Hercules. Now, I don't know if I got the first miniseries because they're both called Hercules, and I was in a rush. But what can you say about the Hercules miniseries that has not yet been said there, Eric, as I get the cover for it somewhere?
Well, I remember he was running around with the Recorder and a Skippy the Scroll.
Yes.
And it was definitely tongue in cheek. And I remember in one of them, he tries to get Galactus drunk. And it doesn't go well, but he does end up with Frankie Ray. which for those of you continuity sticklers, these were set in the far future, and like a couple years after the series came out, they killed off Frankie Ray in the present. So that's for anybody. Yeah, I said that tries to make the pieces fit. No, it doesn't. But they were fun, and I remember I've said, I've told this story before. The guy in the wanted poster, Shaft, in the second miniseries, I think the second one. That's the guy that I bought comics from for 40 years because apparently he pissed Bob Layton off over something.
Okay. So we know Doug Ernst is a villain in one series, and you know somebody in another.
Just a cheap shot on the well, actually, it's funny on the cover of one of the issues. It doesn't figure in the story at all, though.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The first few Marvel minis were so new and just plain fun, says Jackson Ray Kirk about this one. Plus, their clothes are Tom. Okay. Lord of Brooklyn is pointing out that Man of Steel was had the first variant cover. Well, it had the first planned variant cover. Some things that the first variant cover was actually a comic book that came with a record. It was an Avengers comic book on record, and it was just a little bit different than the actual comic book that they were reprinting there. Then you got all sorts of price variants, as you guys know, because some of them like, oh, this is the 35-cent price variant. It's $1,000 more than the original.
Yeah, those weren't variant covers. Those were variant prices.
Price tag, yeah. But some people, yeah, that's right. And they just call it variant issue or something like that. But this was the first planned variant where, okay, maybe it's going to sell a couple of extra copies.
Do you remember what the next two were?
Well, I know the Legend of the Dark Knight was after that, but I don't know. I don't remember if there's one in between it.
There, Justice League 3 from the Blah.
Yeah, that's right. The Shazam copy cover. What is the Firestorm? What was that?
I don't remember what issue number it was because I don't think I've ever had that one. I have the Justice League.
Yeah, me too. All righty. Jim is saying, I've always thought Gen 13 would be the easiest to incorporate into DC. All they needed to do is substitute IO with Waller or Bones. DC finally got good when Marvel creators jumped ship and went there, says Jackson. I like Silver Age Superman. Hello, everyone, Summoner says. Then we've got...
we all did.
I like Burns' take that Soups would vibrate his face so that a good photograph couldn't be taken of him.
That wasn't Burns.
And let's see,
yeah, that wasn't Burns.
Trope, and they only used that when it it was like a plot, convenience a couple times, but Burns did away with all that shit.
Henry's saying, I thought someone would pick the Dark Knight and JL Avengers, so I didn't pick them. Somebody did. I brought this up on live stream a few days ago, but I loved Superman Red Sun, says Interweb Dude. Well, I didn't see it in the chat, so I didn't grab the cover. Actually, it is one of my favorite. I thought I had it around here because I was reading it. It is one of the greatest of all Elseworld stories. I absolutely agree with you on this one. I do not like the movie. Hold on. Let me get rid of Hercules here while we're talking about the Red Sun. I didn't like the movie version. The movie version absolutely was telling you how much better communism is than capitalism.
Which was the point? Excuse me. Which was the point of the original miniseries done by Mark Miller?
Yeah. But the series itself, the book itself, is an absolute fantastic read. it never really takes itself out of that Silver Age aesthetic, yet it still feels modern. So yeah, I really do. I do recommend this Red Sun as well. If we do another one of these, and let's face it, we can. I might actually bring that one up with some pictures. Dr. Savannah sounds like a stripper name. He is. In the DC universe, he's a stripper. That's one of the reasons why he doesn't like Captain Marvel. And I mean, Captain Marvel's a child, you know, in a man's body. And he wanted, like in the movie, that came from the book itself. Not just now, but the Golden Age where Captain Marvel visited a strip joint. Not a lot of people know this. You know, so you should argue it on Twitter and at me. Be very, very belligerent about that. That Dr. Savannah is actually a stripper. Let's see. Do Marvel's Dark Knight and Kingdom Come count as miniseries? Yes, they do. If so, I picked these as a. Well, you got it. Okay. Okay. So Moran, you go along with us. So like next time, hit this. She's saying number 2 is the Dark Knight. Alrighty, and here we go. Don't worry about Marvels. Somebody picked this one and somebody picked that. I wasn't going to pick this because I knew somebody else was. Also, I feel if there's a book you don't have to talk about, it's The Dark Knight Returns. Not because, of course, it's bad, but because it's absolutely fantastic. It's one of, if not the greatest Batman story ever told. I actually did reread it recently. I can't bring it because it's not here. It's like right outside my door here. Let's see. When I first read this, I felt like I was almost breaking the rules. It was the person I bought it from. Her name was Mrs. Duga. She owned Duga's bookstore, and she would not let me purchase this without my mother saying it was okay. And the bird's going crazy over here. I remember reading it as a 20-year-old and thinking this is one of the most cinematic books I have ever read. It is almost like it's not just a book, it's a series of storyboards. And when you see an older cop, I even talked about this in the Moments video we did, where a cop says, "We're in for a show, kid," and then the next is a picture of Batman full of piss and vigor. It's just this huge thing. I think this would have been a perfect shot. We're in for a show. The cover here. We get a brutal Joker fight in it. We get one of those things where, as a young person, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought of that." Was that when you put both sides together, Two-Face would see himself as a monster, not a man. There was just so much greatness added to this story. It was an exercise in seeing what could be done with the character, in my opinion. Yeah. Do either of you guys want to say something about it?
I mean, what's there to be said about Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah.
I can't believe that Frank Miller took 4 issues all this time just to rip off Nat Rat.
Well, Nat Rat was huge at the time.
Well, I guess that's true.
Yeah. And it wasn't just him, because remember they stole the other cover from for Batman number 400. Yeah. Check Ollie's. It's where I found my copy of Shazam, says Grand Admiral. Me too. Let's see. But we're only at number 2 at the moment. You have 1 pick left in total. Hello. No, she does not. Oh yeah. Wait, no. Yes. I was thinking books that we're going to be talking about. Dark Knight and Kingdom Come. Yeah, come up with another one. When we say Fulla. Let's see. We've got Longbow Hunters came out right at the time Liefeld and McFarlane were exploding. It doesn't get the attention it deserves. Neither does Hawk World. That's one I intend to bring up at the next time we do miniseries. I'm 2/3 through Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 15, finished Superman 135, Challenge of the Unknown. He's seriously going through and reading all of the silver. I heard one guy actually went through and tried to, or wait, no, he did read everything DC had produced at the time. Said it took him 15 years to do it. Let's see. That's the second series cover. You know, it was a crapshoot. I was in a hurry because I hadn't pulled them down, but we got the point. We got the point. First of all, Henry, F you. And second, that is a really good shot. But you know for a fact I could not find a Bernie Wrightson cover to save my ass. Come on, man. All right, let's see. I later changed my number 2 to Longbow Hunters. 3 is the Dark Knight. We got that. And all righty. Cool. Let us go for our third picks here. Hopefully I won't be seen as spamming my own channel here. Pistachio is clearly enraged at this Dark Knight slander taking place. No, we weren't slandering. It's awesome. The animated movies are great too, says Jay Lucian. Dark Knight's a great story, but the art, frankly, is underwhelming to Moranya. That's why it's third on the list. Did y'all know first appearance of Catman's going for over 2,000 these days? Yeah, right. I can't hear or read Bernie Wrightson without giggling anymore. Okay, yeah, all right. I get it. Okay, Eric. What is a third story you want to talk about?
Legends.
I must. There you go.
Superman or Man of Steel showed us how different Superman was going to be. Now it was time to show people what else they had up their sleeves, and this was a good way to do it because this was the first, company-wide miniseries, crossover, blah blah blah, since Crisis. So this crossed over into an issue of Batman, Detective, Superman, Firestorm, Warlord. There was a Cosmic Boy miniseries that came out of this. And it was basically Darkseid wanted to nip this new age of heroes in the bud. So he sent Glorious Godfrey to Earth to sow the seeds of discontent, while he had this if I remember correctly, Brimstone was fighting Captain Marvel, and he turned back into Billy Batson, and the feedback or whatever supposedly killed Brimstone, if I'm remembering correctly, which made him think he was a killer, so he stopped being Shazam. So that was basically, a major victory for Darkseid, was taking a major hero off the board. And then he had Glorious Godfrey turn the public against superheroes to the point to where Reagan had to outlaw him. And it was just a great series. Ostrander writing, Byrne on art, and it introduced us to the new Justice League. And it was, at the time, they hadn't turned Jason Todd into a brat yet, which was weird because this was basically going on at the same time that Max Allan Collins was. And they had him, a mob beat Jason Todd almost to death, and he's in the hospital with his leg, full cast, still trying to get out and go help because he was such a good kid, which was about to go bye-bye. But this is a really neat series, and it introduced the new Wonder Woman, who at the time they wanted to use her in the Justice League, but I think Perez didn't want them to do that because it interfered with what he was trying to do. So that's why she just popped in the 6th issue and then kind of disappeared again. We got Guy Gardner in this. It was odd that the people they used, Changeling and the Flash from the Titans. It was right before Wally West got his own book. I'm trying to, who else? Batman, Robin, Superman, and then I said towards the end of the Justice League and Shazam. But it was a really well done series, and all the tie-ins were well worth reading. It was fun. It was like, again, being there at the time, seeing what DC had basically accomplished within a year. On the heels of of Crisis, then Man of Steel, then this, then we got Justice League starting up. A brand new Wonder Woman. They really didn't have to do a whole lot with Batman and Green Lantern, which is, if you recall, that was basically the same edict for New 52. Everything else got massively changed except for those two. And then, I said, then we got Longbow Hunters and the new Green Arrow, and it is everything. DC had an absolute Midas touch at this time, and all it got them was their asses kicked into the ground every month by Marvel.
Marvel.
This wasn't a. I mean, the Man of Steel sold well, but this did not give them the market share like New 52 did for a bit and Rebirth did for a bit, and now Absolute. In fact, 4 or 5 years into post-crisis, they were getting their teeth kicked in by Image as well as Marvel. So
That's true.
And you can't
Which
tell me
is something, because they were consistently writing better stories.
Well, if you go back, Marvel in the late 80s, Marvel was better than I gave them credit for, looking back. But there's no question, with very few exceptions, DC was better than Marvel across the board in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue you had. Now, I must say, for those that like the grim and gritty, all the heroes had hair down to their asses and ponytails, seemingly grown overnight. You had the Hulk. Peter David's Hulk was better than anything DC was doing. Other than that, I'd say DC had the next 15 to 20 best written titles.
All right.
If after Claremont got unceremoniously run off the X titles.
Yeah, I'm in the club that has X-Men peaking around 85, 86 anyway. I mean, not peaking, but kind of that's the cliff. That's when we're at the top and it's all downhill from here. Dom, what would be your third pick? Oh, did we lose Dom? Oh, here he is.
I gotta say my third pick is honestly a toss-up between the West Coast Avengers miniseries and the Iceman miniseries.
Well, if somebody else picked West Coast Avengers miniseries, so why don't I hunt down Iceman, and you can tell us why.
All right. Well, if I were to choose,
you are talking about the 1980s version, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Oblivion. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, with the West Coast Avengers, they are a criminally underrated superhero team of the Marvel Universe, as well as this is time like after Clint and Bobby got married.
I thought you were going to talk about Iceman.
No, I was saying, well, I'd say so. Like, if I were to choose like West Coast
Okay.
West Coast Avengers, like it would be a criminally underrated team because it's set like after Hannah Clinton Bobby got married, and they decided to establish a West Coast branch like of the team. So because there was a time like where almost not all superheroes in teams, but most of them are reside in the East Coast. In this case, like New York. So by establishing a West Coast branch that is more further, that actually helps them to helps them cover their bases, and they're in addition to going over like potential members like who would fit into the new West Coast team. And plus,
All right.
the dynamic like between each of the characters, like as they're joining like this new branch of the Avengers, for me makes fun. And like those dynamics like do carry on into the ongoing series, which leads into a lot of memorable as well as like underrated storylines like in West Coast Avengers.
Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this before, but we would come together on Thursdays and talk about an old storyline or an old mini series or something that we were reading, and we did look for it. Go into the search on videos when you get to the front page of this channel, and just type in West Coast Avengers, and you will get this mini series. We read about it, and we already talked about all 4 issues, and also Legends as well. So that's 2 from this. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Continue, please.
Well, I mean, what is there more to say about all that West Coast Avengers? Well, the original miniseries because it helps establish the foundation for the ongoing series. As mentioned earlier, like the interactions and dynamics like between the characters, like they do get carried over like from the mini. In addition to like leading up to some memorable as well as obscure like storylines, and arcs for each of the members.
Yep. I'll tell you, it is an incredibly fun series. Also,
It really is.
I am pro any Avengers that brings Graviton into uh, the series as a villain. I like his powers. I always thought that would be an awesome power to have. And I mean, he should be, by the way, one of the unbeatable foes. But they do have him in this one. It's an awesome
And also like having him serve as the big bad for this limited series, like it works like in establishing like the first villain this new branch of the Avengers will face off.
Right. The big flaw, though, of this miniseries, and I don't know if it's forgivable, is that it gets Wonder Man out of his most awesome of costumes, that director's jacket that he would wear and the sunglasses. Yeah. Yes. But there you go. Eric, do you have anything? Oh, sorry.
If you ask me, like that should have carried over into the ongoing.
I agree. Eric, what do you say? What do you say about West Coast Avengers?
Okay. I'm going to give you a pass on your Regal Beagle Larry smoking jacket, Wonder Man. I'm going to go a little bit sideways here. Graviton.
Okay.
First appearance in Avengers 158, 159. He was truly unbeatable. And the only reason why the Avengers were able to beat him was he thought that the woman that he was doing it all for had leapt to her death. And then he basically collapses the island and it falls to the earth, and Thor, Wonder Man, Iron Man, and the Vision catch it, which, okay, we're going to suspend our disbelief there. But that's
you have to.
The problem with Graviton is the subsequent usages. I mean, the West Coast Avengers, it was very tough to beat. But when you have a character like that, it's very hard to do that kind of character justice because, what do you do with him? Theoretically, you wouldn't be able to beat him, so they had to neuter him here and there, and just like everybody else at Marvel, character became a joke. But those first couple appearances, and this was the second one, were pretty impressive. But it's, those kind of villains are very hard to do. It's like, what do you do with Count Nefaria after Avengers 164, 5, and 6? How do you top that? It's same like the Korvac side. How do you top Korvac? You can't. And that's
for Marvel, you could call it the Abomination effect. They so OP'd the Incredible Hulk, they forgot to do the same thing with the Abomination. So the Abomination kept facing the Hulk and getting his ass whipped. And to the point where the one character that really should be a challenge to the Hulk just wasn't. I have an if I wrote the Abomination. By the way, I've got an awesome if I wrote the Joker. But if I wrote the Abomination, and I thought of this as I was reading the official handbook to the Marvel Universe, and I was reading the Abomination's history. Make his power a little bit different than the Hulk's. Maybe it's not as angry as he gets, but I would do this for the Thing too. But thanks to the cosmic rays, and this is how you can continue both of them as a big threat to the Hulk. They absorb the definitely with the Thing. The Thing can just absorb the radiation thanks to the cosmic radiation that has affected him. Therefore, the more he fights the Hulk, the stronger he gets. The same for the Abomination, who would absorb the gamma radiation. And then he's a threat. But because what you're talking about, at least what I think you're talking about, is we see the villains so many times and they get defeated so many times, then how are they even a threat to our character?
That
can work. We all know that the more time the Thing spends with the Hulk, the gamma rays cancel out the cosmic rays. Just ask Roy Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Why he turned permanently,
right.
Which meant 8 months.
Of course.
But
alrighty.
So that's
okay. Let us see. I guess my third. Oh, wait, no. This is Dom's, so it is my third pick. Alrighty, let's do this. And do I have my third pick up here? I need to download it for the cover. And where is it? My third pick is Darwin Cook. And who is it? Darwin Cook and Dave Stewart. And that is The New Frontier. This is also an Ollie's pick, by the way. I love this miniseries. This is like a love letter to the Silver Age. It actually starts a little bit earlier in that gray area where it wasn't quite Golden Age. It's not quite Silver Age or what we count as Silver Age. That's where it starts, and you start off. I guess it is Silver Age with the losers finding the war that time forgot, the island with the dinosaurs and such, and they just get destroyed. That's how it begins. And it's really, really dramatic. This book, one of the things I like about this, and I guess if you read it and reread, if you're someone who just let's get to the action, could find it a little irritating. But one of the things I truly like about this is it takes time to introduce the main players. You get a good characterization of Wonder Woman and Superman right away as they confront each other. And this, Darwin Cook wanted to portray Wonder Woman just a little bit bigger than everybody else, because she's this big, powerful Amazon, and Superman doesn't need to be 8 feet tall. You get Batman, who's he's going after this cult who is kidnapping children, and in doing so, he runs across Slam Bradley and John Jones, and he notices something off about John Jones. He goes to him and he said, one of my favorite lines in any comic book ever. He tells him it took a $75,000 sliver of a meteor to take care of the one in Metropolis. With you, all you need is a book of matches. It's it takes a while to get going. Is it halfway through it is when they really start. They introduce the villain or the center, by the way, which is just this kind of it's a generic villain. It's evil. That's what it is. It's evil, and that's all you need to know about it. You know, it's not exactly given anything, any backstory or anything that gives it anything beyond just being evil. So it kind of is a 1950s, 60s monster of the week kind of movie that you may go see at a matinee. And it does take a little bit to get to it, but once it does, once again, these characters that you've just spent 3 issues, by the way, 3 prestige format, double-sized issues, getting to know, finally get into gear and start fighting. And this is not a friendly book. I guess they understood that this was going to be a 6-issue miniseries and it's going to be separate. It's not canon. And so you have a lot of characters that would survive if you actually were reading that does not in this. But if you have not checked this book out, do so. The movie's great. Don't get me wrong. The animated film is great, but the book is absolutely fantastic. Either one of you check this out and want to talk about it before we move on?
Yeah, I've read this modern timeless classic by Darren Cook and Dave Stewart. And yeah, it was thought say it's not only like a love letter to the silver age of comic books, but also the era that came before, which is the atomic age. So as it's set between the golden and the silver age. It was at a time where crime fiction, fantasy, horror, and sci-fi were actually at their peak. And also with the New Frontier, like based on the time period it's set in, that it's one of those few works of fiction that actually features and or references the Korean War.
Yeah. The as a matter of fact, one of the things is Hal Jordan is a pilot in the Korean War, and his plane crashes and he has to jump out. His parachute leads him to landing on a Korean soldier who doesn't know that the war is over. And then they fight, and Hal Jordan has to kill him, and it kind of haunts him. Yeah, it's a great story. This is a really good book. And the focus on the characters is what truly makes it.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty. Let's go to the chat. Oh, go on ahead. Finish what you're saying.
Well, I'll say even though like New Frontier is an Elseworlds, like how it can fit into the main DC canon, before Flashpoint and the New 52. Feel like there will be differences, as you mentioned like there will be characters who actually died in New Frontier, but if it was part of the main canon, and like those characters that died in the Elseworlds, they still lived on like later down the line.
All right. Now let's move on to the chat, and let's see. I am going to go with, let's see. I can't read her here. Okay, we read that. Yeah. One Slick says his number 3 is Conqueror of the Barren Earth. Okay, and thankfully, I don't know if either of you two have read this, but thankfully, this is deep cuts here, kids.
I know, right?
Say something about it because I couldn't tell you shit about this. Okay, so you have read this. Okay,
I'm an old soul.
Let me read what One Slick had to say, because this is his book, and then we'll get to you. One Slick, leaving the dying world to be fought over by the savage forces that remain behind, and conquering the stars, mankind had found new friends and terrible new enemies. The warlike Olav, the Confederate, and the Olav fought across the far reaches of the galaxy until finally mankind was driven back. It seems to me like you took like a description from DC or something like that. Confederation fought across far reaches of the galaxy until finally mankind was driven back where it had begun on Earth. Desperate to reclaim their home world, the Space Ark the Space Ark renewal and the rest of the ragtag fleet approached Earth, where it was viciously attacked by Olaf or Kulov. Forces, only one escape pod from each of the 5 starships survived. One of these survivors was female warrior Janal Net Kamar. Light years from her countryman Janal the warrior now leads the 5 other human survivors on a quest to become the conqueror of a barren Earth. That's the synopsis. Okay, there we go. What do you have to say there, Dom?
Well, yeah. Essentially, only if you take like Flash Gordon and John Carter of Mars, and take it to and take them like in a blender, or like with the DC universe. Like pretty much like what makes each of them work is taken up to 11, and not to mention like in spite of the dire situation like humanity is in, and like it does lead to an uplifting ending.
Okay. I've got to tell you, never read it. Eric, have you ever checked this one out?
Never read it.
Okay. Well, good pull there. Let's see. Lord of Brooklyn. I was reading ahead here. Lord of Brooklyn says, well, I've got 3 more. You better talk about them. Mention them in the whole thing. You tell us. And I would say even write a little bit about why you like this particular miniseries. But if I'm reading them off, and as I'm reading them off, I'm pulling up the pictures and such. But there you go. That is the Conquerors of the Barren Earth. One slick dude's pick. Okay, let me go back to the top there, and let's. Whoa! Where? Did I miss it? That is, yeah, we're on number 3, and I'm all the way up at number 2 here. There we go. Okay, let's see. I remember reading The Dark Knight Returns when I was a kid. I'm old. I know, right? Catwoman needs Catman. Catman needs to find Catwoman, have cat kids. And Henry Jeremick says his number 3 pick. This one we can all talk about, right? The Wolverine miniseries. I just picked up this trade paperback at the last comic book show. I haven't read it yet.
Really?
But this would definitely, yeah, I have. Well, I've read it before, but I mean, I haven't read this new trade paperback I just picked up. Wait a second, I don't have that. Okay, so you want to start off then, Dom? Oh,
what?
Shit. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Or no, you are. Go ahead.
Eric, you want to start us off?
I don't remember it well enough to talk about it.
That's why I was sending it on over to Dom.
Really?
Yeah, I remember what I remember of it. What I remember of it was Mariko had called off the wedding, and so he travels to Japan. He wants to find out why. He wants to find out what.
Yes.
And there he meets her father, and her father is not a nice guy. That is what I remember of this. Please, Dom, talk about this one.
Oh yeah, he's not a nice guy, and like in the same like miniseries, he's also meets a new character introduced. I'm positive. Well, this is actually the first appearance of Yukio. Yukio, who started out like as an antagonist, but became an ally and friend like to Wolverine. Right, and after once he meets Mariko's dad, well, he pretty much sends assassins, including the hand to pretty much take out Wolverine and eventually Yukio, who decided to help him in his journey. Right, and it's in this series you can tell this is where his love for Eastern storytelling and culture, especially Japan feeling like really shines in Wolverine, and that does get carried over in Ronin. And
All right.
also like he in this one he actually incorporates or like techniques like usually seen in manga, but of course like adapted for Eastern storytelling, with the arrangement and exaggeration of panels, but it makes like the story and the movements was like to be very kinetic. Yeah, so it continues to engage the readers.
I haven't read him forever. I gotta tell you, I skimmed through it when I first got the trade home, and that's how I remembered as much as I did. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of jazzed. I'm kind of jazzed to check it out again. You know, um, it's like hopefully reading it for the first time all over again. Because I did buy this off the shelf. This was as Tony Hayes. I'm old. Because I remember this is one of the comics. Me and a bunch of friends on our lunch hour. We were in middle school at this point. It wasn't called middle school when I was there. It was called junior high, and we would have our lunch period, and we would all meet at the same table, and we would share comics. Like I haven't read that, I don't have that one. Can I get and we would trade and everything, not permanently, but would skim through and read. And we showed up that day, and every one of us had this. Every one of us had a Wolverine #1. So it became this is so cool. And this, yeah. And that was what it was. That was that day's discussion, was how awesome this was. I don't remember a lot of those things. I do remember one of my friends yelling at this girl to get her to look at a guy because he was like, "Oh, I like her, but I don't know if I want to talk to her. I don't know." That's the other thing I remember from those comic book days. Other than occasionally we would get some jocks or some. You guys bring comics to school? Then they walk off. Now it's like, cool. You guys got a little comic book club going on here. Back then, this is why I laugh whenever I hear about people talking about, you're keeping these people out. You're keeping these people out. Go yourself. Because, we're the old people, the people with this kind of color of hair and beards and all that kind of stuff, had to deal with all the kind of bigotry towards people who collected comics and were just geeks all around. So anytime I hear anybody said, but you were trying to keep these people, I go, no, you guys were trying to keep us down. So shut up.
Actually,
yeah.
I actually brought in a couple of issues of the ongoing West Coast Avengers to my local junior high school. And my classmates were like noticed they were interested and asked me if they could borrow them. And like I said yes, and after they read them, they were genuinely impressed.
Different time, man. Different time. Although Eric didn't have to go through that because he was a jock and awesome. All right, let's go to the next. Oh, what? No, don't. We're done with that. So I'm going to bring this one down. Okay, and who do we have coming up next here? The only way DC would have gotten better was if they had put an X in front of their titles. Yeah. Let's see. England team, did you happen to ship my last? Tomorrow, I have a Dom box, a Jim box, and a Tony box ready to go. Let's see. West Coast and Iron Man were based on the West Coast around the same time. An honorable mention for me, says Jim, is Longshot. Lord Brooklyn is saying I still have 3 picks that better show up. If you mention them, they will show up. Graviton is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., says Rhaegar. Really? I don't know about that. RIP to Darwin Cook. Yep. Fantastic Four 166 to 167, where the Thing teams up with the Hulk. I got the compact trade of the New Frontier. Loved it, along with the animated movie. Yeah, it is pretty good. The animated movie is pretty good as well. Your time to pick my remaining 3 is slipping away. You tell us what it is, and I pull up the picture. Otherwise, I'm going through and we're moving on. Sorry. But what is if you're not typing out the title of your 3rd book, let us know right now. let's see. Once it's hard to start as a backup in Warlord, perhaps. No, it's not like that. You violent person. Do you know she watches wife kills husband movies with a notepad?
What?
I know, right?
I need a notepad. I just keep it all over.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right now it's just all done by memory. I should say it's all done by misery. Mine. I don't know.
Notepad is evidence.
The notepad. She says I don't use a notepad. The notepad is evidence. Oh goodness, I love my wife, and she sometimes can tolerate me, and that's the important part. Boom. Do. Hold on just a sec, guys. Okay, here we go. One more I'm chasing down here, and it should not kids.
Okay, so we're just mentioning like four miniseries.
Here we go. Yeah, each we're mentioning 4 each, plus everybody in the chat gets if they had already sent get to mention something. And Lord of Brooklyn brought up The Crow.
Nice.
All right. Don't mention them all in. Don't mention them all in one. There, Lord of Brooklyn. You mentioned The Crow, so that's this one. Save your fourth one for the next one there. All right, The Crow. Obar wrote a disturbing, gritty, and stark take on the Wraith character. Oh, I guess I'll catch you up to here. I don't mind. Okay, I gotta tell you something. The movie's better. I think actually the miniseries is just a little bit too over the top for me. Not that it's bad. I love it, but the scene where they shoot the girlfriend, it's not in the house, it's not this, oh, we're having a romantic time, they burst in. It's a lot more gross, and they rape the girl. And one of them actually gets told, well, she's dead by now, and he says, I don't care, she's still warm. That's the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, that's just one step too much for me. And if it's not for you, that's awesome. I'm not saying anything that I'm not even pushing back on the fact that this is an absolutely fantastic, deep, dark story. Obar, his girlfriend, I think actually was murdered.
Yes.
And that's what this was all about. This is kind of a catharsis for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it really shows. It really shows. But I don't know. Once again, I think and maybe that's it. Maybe I can relate to it, as in this is one of my greatest fears. I can't relate to it in the fact that even thinking about that happening is a step too far for me, if that's what I'm saying. Dom, do you want to talk about this?
Well, the original Crow miniseries is another example of a modern timeless classic. And you're right, it did serve like as a catharsis to help him essentially process the loss of his girlfriend. And yeah, while it can be like very gritty in areas, especially like what happened to like Eric and Shelley. Really, actually, especially with Eric, his body, he served as the vessel for the supernatural crow, and essentially the crow like talking like through Eric, whereas like in the movie, really like it not only like elevated the original miniseries, but also like made improvements of it by actually like selling the readers as well as the viewers. There's like the tragedy of what happened to Eric and Shelley and the life they were building for themselves, and also a little girl who has like become a found daughter of theirs because like her mom, she wasn't in really the best of places. Well, then when the supernatural crow came in and resurrected Eric, like he is still alive, but is bonded like to the crow. because it's assisting him to essentially avenge not only his death, but also Shelley and others that were affected by the goons. It was like that essentially took everything from them, including like their boss. I was like responsible like for the whole thing.
Amazing story, but like I
It
said,
really
it's
is.
just, oh my gosh, it's just so dark. It really
Yeah.
is.
Well,
It took me to places I was uncomfortable to go. In all honesty,
it's
and that
okay.
doesn't
It's
normally
okay
happen.
being
But go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, adding on to what you were saying, like it's okay to be uncomfortable. Because like it with the crow, like it take both this one as well as the film adaptation, like it takes you on a journey, as mentioned before. Well, like it did help like improve like the source material while not changing too much of it. But like in other words, like the changes actually like benefited the adaptation. And Obar, or he was impressed like by how the studio like handled his material, and him and Brandon Lee, may he rest in peace, like they became good friends, because with Lee, like he was shown to be a genuine comic book fan like among like other areas of geekdom, and he was interested of like doing more like with like the Crow series. So it's because with the first miniseries, like, it's only like the first of many. But of course, we all know what happened. Happened like in the making of the Crow, like the prop
Yeah.
gun like went off,
All right.
and well, he unfortunately died. So like before like they could like help him as they reached the hospital.
Right. All right. Let's move on. I'm gonna let Lord of. I don't think he understood what we were doing, so I'm gonna let Lord of Brooklyn catch up. That was it. Would be his first. His second is a brilliant take on the ultimate crossover fantasy. Busek and Perez put their entire career's worth of skill into Justice League versus the Avengers, and I had to use this cover to represent it.
Must be JLA and Avengers, because it's not really a versus.
Did I say? Oh, yeah. You're right. Of course, it starts off with the classic, but a brilliant take on the ultimate. Okay, cool. Eric, you haven't spoken for a while. I know you read this. You want to talk about it first?
Same thing. I haven't read it in years.
Oh, okay.
I remember it was originally supposed to come out 20 years before it did.
Yeah. By the way, I dig on some of the covers and such that they had for it. The storyline here is that I believe they have to come up with each. It's kind of a scavenger hunt where
Yes.
they're going after the big items of each universe.
Mm-hmm.
We do have, of course, the Avengers JLA clash, and I do think it's kind of funny that they do the Superman Thor fight in a. They're like, what, 3 panels? When in all honesty, that fight alone could be an entire issue. But yeah, the one thing I got to say, first of all, I was in Longwood, Florida at the time, and George Perez lived there. And he would frequent the shop. And I thought this was something, because you had this and you had the Infinite Crisis and such. And he was just riding a high. It was the Infinite Crisis. I'm talking to him, and I find out I'm just interviewing the guy, and he actually and people are listening to our conversation. They actually stopped to listen to us have a conversation. I thought that was so much fun.
Nice.
I model my look on George Perez, by the way. Not true, but bald guy with a white beard. Go figure. He was kind enough, though. When I was talking to him, I had a copy of Infinite Crisis in front of me. He goes, "You want me to sign that? Okay, here you go." I can't believe I sold it. I wish I had that back. What do you want to say about this, Dom?
Man, every time I read JLA Avengers, it always puts a smile on my face because it was made during a time where both teams were still like at their peak. Be like even after like the new millennium has come to pass. Like you have like the masterful like writing talents of Buziak, the master draftsmanship of Perez. Perez is essentially like what people have been asking for, and if Avengers, like one of them with the with the Justice League being compared to the Squadron Supreme, pretty like by
Yeah.
way of Hawkeye, because
Sure.
they met that because like they met the clones of the Squadron Supreme, the Squadron Sinister before like they met the Squadron Supreme proper. Right, so to actually encounter the team that are pretty much like alternate universe counterparts of the Justice League, like it's fun to see those interactions like between the two like actually happen. But also, it was like another like memorable moment is like Busiek really like, and with the penmanship of Perez, it was like they actually showcase like the differences between like the Marvel and DC universes respectively, especially with the
Yeah.
physics. Like for instance, like with Wally, only when he travels like it was like to 616, it was like the main Marvel Earth, or like he can't like he doesn't have a strong connection to the Speed Force, first because that is native to the DC universe. Well, also he even experiences like some people's like sentiments like on superhumans, mostly mutants, whereas whereas like with the other team when they went to the DC Earth, like it's the opposite. That's like people actually praise are respectful of like to superhumans of various types.
One thing I liked about that is that Captain America saw it as the people were being forced to worship them as gods. And not that the people love their heroes, which, you know, if you read Marvel, they're always, oh no, they're a menace and we got to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
In DC, people love their heroes.
And it's
Captain America
genuine.
saw it as they were being forced rather than it was just something that people did. I love that part of it. Okay, I'm going to move on here and read off a couple that Robert Trains is mentioning. We're just going to kind of go over those and then we're going to move on a little bit. But he mentions Heir of the Empire by Dark Horse, RoboCop versus Terminator. Welcome, by the way, and if you want to participate in the other ones, leave comments in this video. And next week, me and Eric were talking about it. We want to hear your comic book origin. What was it that brought you into comics, and what was the first or maybe one of the first books that you remember loving at the time, and why? So we're going to be talking about that next Wednesday. Let's see. There's so many good miniseries. One Slick says you can't list them all. And we'll get to your fourth pick there, Lord of Brooklyn, in the fourth chapter, because I know we've actually done 3 of yours already. We've done the Golden Age, Dark Knight, and now the Avengers. So you're all caught up. So let's go. Jackson says we missed his number 3. All righty. And I will invite either Dom or Eric to speak a little bit on Future Impact.
Also mean Future Imperfect.
That's what it was. It was Future Imperfect with the Hulk. That's what I said.
No.
Just because you hear things wrong doesn't mean I'm saying the wrong thing.
He went 1 for 2. We'll give him that.
Say what?
You got one. You got one of the 2. That's.
I
said Future. Yeah, I was right. I can't help it if Dom hears things wrong.
But you got the second one wrong.
Future Imperfect, not Future Impact.
I said, I'll go first. Never a big fan of it.
Oh, sure.
No?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Class.
Alrighty. So this is the. Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Eric. Yeah, please.
No, so I'm not I'm not a fan of dystopian for one. And this, like I said, it was it's fine, it's good enough story, but it just I don't know. And I was also salty because Marvel editorial had basically forced Peter David to end the Pantheon era Hulk and make him descend into savagery again and blah blah blah. And this was just, to me, this was kind of like for the Hulk that I loved, this was almost like the Jeff Johns doing the sniveling Clark Kent again in the early 2000s. It was like the final nail in the coffin of something that I really really loved. So maybe if I went back and read it again after a million years, I might feel differently, but I was not a fan at the time.
I mean, that is completely fair.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I remember like when I first read Future Imperfect. Like on one hand, like there is a nice rewritten story done by Peter David. Yeah, on the other hand, and it rather painted a bleak future for not just Bruce and Hulk, but also all the Marvel universe. Because like when Peter David took over the title, like he allowed like both characters to progress forward for like to the point like where Bruce he was able to not only confronts from like his childhood trauma facing off his dad that like who was the guild hog. Also like I mean with his like mom one last time. That like he gained closure as well as like, integrating with both the original Savage Hulk and Grey Hulk Joe Fixit, which became like the Merged Hulk, which reflected Bruce essentially becoming whole again. And that was pretty much like the next logical step for not only the next logical step for Bruce's character, but also it gave him closure. So like like after Jim Shooter left, like editorial told him to pretty much like refer him back to the status quo instead of actually progressing it. And I do also like his time with the Pantheon because it reflected like that period like in Bruce's like time like as a hero. So like to have this be the sign of things becoming undone, it does leave a bitter taste in people's mouths.
Well, I got to admit, I read it and I liked it, but I don't remember anything about it. I do also remember that I liked all of the Maestro series that came out about 5 or 8 years ago. That's about all I could say. Okay, so I do want to do one more, and then we're going to move on to round 4. Tony Hayes just jumped in with the Firestar limited series.
Ooh, that's another oldie but goodie.
Good. This is one of those I got to admit. Once again, I think I've got the book like somewhere around here on a bookshelf. But this was a lot of fun for me. It's like hold on, it wouldn't let me download this because I downloaded too many images. Reading so many comics books for so long, you get to a point where it's like when I read it. Okay, it's not letting me. Oh, here it is. Oh, going. It might be is usually fixed by trying again. Feel time of Oh, by the way, I do have books here that nobody's mentioned. I am bringing them up as you guys mention them to us. And I see some awesome freaking titles that have not been brought up yet. Even by Jim. Jim, you're here. Why am I not talking about Beauty and the Beast yet? And there's Archie 1941 somebody brought up. That I didn't pick that because somebody else mentioned it. But here you go. Firestar #1. This was actually special to me because I was a kid. I was like 11, 10, maybe 11 years old when Spider-Man His Amazing Friends came out. So when Firestar started showing up, it's like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, that's really cool. Like I said, I've read so many comics, I can't tell you specifics. I could just tell you, like, I think she got her powers, or her first time she showed off her powers was at a football game or something. But I do remember that when I read this, I thought it was an incredible amount of fun and very entertaining. Eric, do you remember this one?
No. I don't think I ever read this one.
No. Okay, how about you, Dom?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've read this one. One that remains like one of my favorite miniseries.
Young man's memory, so maybe he could say something. There you go.
Well, I can't say about Miss Jessica is she actually predates is Harley Quinn. Because like with Firestar, she actually started out as an original character for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, whereas until she and because like she was so popular with people, as well as longtime comic book fans, it was like she made the transition from animated series to comic books.
All right.
And I guess that what part.
There you go. Okay, now I'm going.
With the miniseries.
Go ahead, finish your thought, and then we're going to move on. Yeah.
Well, what I like about the Firestar miniseries is actually showcasing like her journey as a hero as well as actually giving readers like an overview of what she's been up to. Because she's met the X-Men, the New Mutants, as well as the White Queen, Emma Frost, and her Hellions. And so we see her, like how each of these encounters affected like her journey as a hero. And she remains like, and she still has a following. Well, yet even after she made her debut, like whenever Chris Claremont like writes Firestar, so he pretty much like makes like dislike for the character more, but it's more out of like editorial like making him like incorporate Firestar like into the storylines, which caused them to develop this dislike, even though Firestar herself, she's not a bad character.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our fourth pick, Eric.
Well, I don't have one.
Oh, you only picked 3. Okay, Dom, what would be your fourth pick?
Oh, it would actually be the the Cyberforce miniseries from Image Comics.
Okay, I went and grabbed Iceman. Okay, let me get the Cyberforce while you talk about it.
Well, much like with Gen 13, with Cyberforce, for like it showcased like another corner of the original Image universe, but this time like mutants are being like taken by an organization called Cyberdata, who wants to like use them as their own like mercenaries and super agents. And after they capture these mutants, like they plant them with cybernetics, with cybernetic implants like that enhances like each of their natural mutant abilities. And Velocity, she's a resident speedster, who's of the team. So she's actually being chased by Cyberdata, and eventually when she meets Ripclaw, Heat Wave, and the other founding members of Cyberforce, she is pretty much like was introduced into this new world like of the Image universe, as well. And in that same miniseries, there's like we learn of how Cyberforce came to be, and as then later on they do encounter Pitt, whom Gen 13 actually encountered as well. Well, including his half brother Timmy, like in the original Gen 13 miniseries. In fact, I'm positive. Well, like the events of Gen 13 were mentioned by Pale like during his encounter with Cyberforce.
Okay. I don't remember anything about it. I know I read it, but Image was one of those books that, or one of the companies actually. I read them when they came out because it was the exciting new thing. I was not impressed. Sorry, but with anything Image did. I think I read Spawn to issue number 12 and then gave up on that. I think that's the furthest. Actually, I think Savage Dragon was the furthest I went, about issue number 20 something, and I just gave up. The books that I liked from Image at the time were ones that didn't last. Wild Star, not Tribe, but Shaman's Tear. None of those would last, but I read Cyberforce. I read the miniseries for Wildcat, so I couldn't tell you two things about Cyberforce. Go figure. Yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm not putting down any. Go ahead.
One of these days when we bring back like, if I wrote because it's been on hiatus for too long. Well, we need to cover Cyberforce.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I guess let me get this done real quick, as I am. Tony Hayes came in late, and so I'm adding a couple. And this is one. Tony Hayes, tell us why you want that miniseries talked about the same way that, give us a little bit why you like it. All right. And I'm going to pull mine up in just a touch here. There it is. All right. My fourth and final miniseries I was going to talk about is a book called The Last Temptation, or Alice Cooper.
That's another good Temptation. One. And also was like another work done by Neil Gaiman before you lost
it's my second Neil Gaiman pick for the night. A lot of you guys know that I like Alice Cooper. I had his comic book on my wall for the longest time. I had to sell it recently to Mill. And I'm just a big fan. I really am. And it just so happens, by the way, this was a tie-in with a CD called The Last Temptation of Alice Cooper. And that's why, by the way, even though this is just called The Last Temptation, I continuously referred to it as The Last Temptation of Alice Cooper. Let me plop this down. Now, I used to own both copies of this story, but I loaned one out to my daughter and never saw it again. This one, however, is the black and white version, which actually works for me. I think it would have been a little bit better if they went a little bit darker on the inks and such. For a lot of the series, you can tell the art is awesome. This is such a great story, by the way.
I agree.
It reminded me of Something Wicked This Way Comes.
It does, doesn't it?
It starts off, you have a group of friends and it's Halloween and or it's the day before Halloween, and they're walking down the street in their town and they see an old theater. It's like, you're going to go in, you're going to go in. They kind of are, funny thing, you've got three bigger guys and a smaller guy. And the three bigger guys, Alice Cooper appears and says, yes, come on in. And I've got one ticket. Who's going to be the brave one? Who's going to go? And all the three big guys come up with excuses, but then turn to the little guy and say he's too freaking chicken to go in. and they start bullying him into it, and the little guy goes in, and Alice Cooper starts introducing him to the theater macabre. As a matter of fact, he asks for, "Do you have popcorn? Can I get popcorn and a soda or something?" And he's talking about this is not a movie and all that. And he starts putting him down, and he meets this woman named Mercy who talks to him, takes his ticket, the whole 9 yards, and then disappears as a ghost. And it's done in a series of in a couple of panels as you see her slowly fade away. And so basically, as they start the show and as it goes on, he finds himself in the show. Some may find it a little cheesy, especially if you're not familiar with the music, because there's dialogue which is actually songs from the album Last Temptation of Alice Cooper. And so that might be a little bit weird for some people, but it's, like I said, it's my favorite album. And it is a little bit, admittingly, I got to say, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's from this song and that's from that song. They never touch upon my favorite song in the on the album either. But yeah, it's an amazing story. If you haven't checked it out, do yourself a favor. Last Temptation. Great story, great art, fun. Also, check out the albums. I've got almost all of Alice Cooper's albums. I can tell you, they're freaking awesome. All righty, let's see what everybody else has to say. Everybody's got opinions. And okay, finally, I was wondering when this would happen. Wait, hold on. The comments jumped as I was about to hit somebody. There we go. We've got One Slick Dude saying his fourth pick is Kitty Pryde and Wolverine.
Hey.
Yeah. Once again, Eric, you haven't talked so much. Do you remember anything about this one?
Yes, I may be alone in this hill. I like this one better than the Wolverine.
Oh no,
Okay.
the Wolverine miniseries by Miller is good, right? But Kitty Pryde and Wolverine is the best.
Yeah,
Right.
I find myself like rereading this than the Wolverine mini.
All right. Eric, finish your thoughts, please.
Her Kitty's dad is she finds out that her dad is in business with the Yakuza, and they're threatening him, and she goes to Japan to I think she goes over there to get her father out of the jam he's in, and she's just so ill prepared for being over. She's over there, no money, doesn't know anybody. She, even with her powers, she's like shivering on the streets, cold, wet, hungry, blah blah blah. And she meets up with what's the lady's name? Yukio or what?
Yukio.
Yeah, and
Yep.
she basically teaches her how to be I guess a ninja. And
Yes.
cuts her
In
hair.
this case, Konoichi.
And then Wolverine shows up and to help her out with. And now how it ends, I can't remember, but I just remember the growth of the Kitty character was what made this series really good. I need to reread that. It's over on my shelf. I should reread that again. When I start getting interested in reading comics again, I will.
And much like with Green Arrow when my girl took over. Like for a while, Kitty was allowed to age.
Oh, everybody's allowed to age to a certain point, because that's how Robin, Bruce.
Take care of yourself, sir. All right. You want to continue there because I don't remember anything of this one.
No, what I say is that's how
Okay.
when Bruce Wayne took in Dick Grayson, he was in his late 20s and Dick Grayson was 10. Mm-hmm. Now they're about 5 years apart. So everybody gets to age to a certain point and then they stop.
Which if you ask me, I mean, like they could have actually had an in-universe in-universe explanation for why why each of these characters suddenly became ageless, and the solution to that like for why they suddenly stopped aging, or at least they became an ageless type of mortal. One is exposure like to mystical, cosmic, and coronal energies. That the bodies became like saturated right, by them, essentially like slowed down the aging process at a snail's pace.
Yeah, but then all the supporting characters, when they used to have those, would get old around them.
Which would which if you ask me, you could have actually done a wait not only storyline but you could have, well, nah, not a major event, but you could have actually done, no, actually it will be too small. A storyline, it can't be confined to just one series, but an event like where you actually creates a conflict where, like where the heroes like when they learn about this, others like they others they they actually understand like why they stop aging, and like after like facing off a villain and asking like, even though like they don't ask for a reward, well in this case, because like they want to be allowed to pretty much age again, because like they want to like continue like growing up and older like with their supporting characters.
Alrighty. Okay, and this was oh goodness gracious, One Slick Dude. Alrighty, hold on. Where did I go too far again? I had them and then the comments bounced. There it is. All right, let's hit that. And okay, hold on just a sec. I'll tell you what, I missed one, so I'm going to go over that one. And you guys, I am sure, because I can't, once again, we're getting to the points where I read them, but I don't remember them. And here we have the Nightcrawler 4-issue limited series. Was another fun one back in 1984. So this is Tony Hayes' pick. As I go looking for another one. Do you guys remember this at all?
That's another oldie but goodie. Yeah, really. When you think about it, 1984 was a time period where each members of the X-Men were essentially receiving their own 4-issue mini, which worked out. Oh, because if there's a story that the creators don't want to tell, like I don't see why not. It was also during a time like where a miniseries is done right, and also it doesn't overstay its welcome. But as for Nightcrawler, I remember like reading this was like later on between middle school and high school. Well, and I mean, what can I say? Say like it's a nice like swashbuckling adventure akin to Zorro.
I remember enjoying it. I haven't read it in so long. I don't remember anything about it. Eric, do you?
No, I don't remember the Nightcrawler. I don't remember the Iceman. I know that those came out right around, pretty close to each other. And I don't remember, but I do remember I said aspects of the Kitty Pryde Wolverine and the Wolverine one. But I'm like you, I remember these being fun.
It's
but
like you remember, yeah. You remember the emotion behind it, and I loved this series at the time. As a matter of fact, I looked after when Nightcrawler would appear in other books like Micronauts or Crystar. I read those because Nightcrawler was just so freaking awesome back in the day. All righty, let's go to the one that I missed at first. And that this one's a bit of a surprise because it is a newer one, and it is the new history of the DC universe from Summoner. I have not read new comics. I'm not interested in new comics.
It's not all that good.
Okay, sorry, Summoner. By the way, if you had submitted miniseries, I've been going through number one. If you notice, people were mentioning their miniseries, and as they were, I was popping up the pictures. So if you did have some here, let me go through some of these as well. You know what? I'll do that at the end. Okay, so let's see. Speaking of, let me get the quote down though. There you go. I remember a lot of people had a hard time because the America part of Justice League had been removed in this particular new history.
Yes, and also yes, well, not only that, but they also like incorporated like aspects of the new history as seen with the new 52 like into the new history of the DC universe. Pretty much like the patching. It's a patchwork of the DC universe. Whereas like people like wanted the universe to revert to what it was pre New 52. To however, like characters and storylines that actually earn people's like respect and patronage. Because like they can be like worked into the restoration like of the old history. Well, also like another aspect that people didn't like besides that is they also incorporated the new history of the milestone universe, where instead of the big bang being result like of the gang war and the police like using like the new tear gas to de-escalate the situation, they use the new origin where the big bang is a result of a BLM riot.
Right.
However,
Jackson is saying, okay.
However, I will say to the new history's credit, it actually undid the retcon to Barry's origin as done by Jeff Johns when he did Flash Rebirth after Barry was brought back in Final Crisis.
Okay. All right. Jackson Rickert saying, since many of my choices have been taken, I will go with Magic. And
hey, that's another good one.
This is awesome. Eric, do you want to talk?
No, but I was thinking, wow, they did have a lot of miniseries in the 80s.
I know, right?
Yes.
They were good too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the fact that, by the way, I think us adding a couple of in have sparked either that or we're all old here. But yeah, it kind of added in a little spark. Hey, remember this? Remember that? Remember this? So yeah. So this takes place within a panel or two of an X-Men comic 160, I think it was, maybe one around there, where they're in this cave and they start seeing dead and older versions of themselves. And as they're trying to make their escape from this area, Magic gets taken. And the X-Men are trying to pull her out of this vortex that took her. And when they do, she comes back as a teenager. And they're like, what the F happened? This is what the F happened. And you see that Shadow Cat is now actually kind of cat-like, and she's and Nightcrawler are both more brutal and are under the spell of Belasco. Storm is an actual sorcerer in this one. She actually has learned magic plus her powers, but she's very old, so she's feeble in her attempts to defeat Belasco, and she teaches Ileana magic. By the way, I never understood why people are pointing to New Mutants number 14 as the first appearance of Magic when you have a fucking mini-series with a damn name on it. Just saying, kids, just saying. Maybe this would be the first appearance, or maybe we just go with the first appearance of Ileana.
Did New Mutants 14 predate that, and this went back and told the story of how she got like that? I don't remember. Nope. 40-something years.
No, this came out first. That's ridiculous. Anyway, great freaking miniseries. Dom, you want to talk on it?
Oh, what can I say?
Ooh.
I don't know. Don't ask me to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
No. This is a fun Well, this is it's a fun miniseries. I really like shines the spotlight on one of the little sister of Colossus, like Ileana Rasputin, and what and also like showcase like with the X-Men and the other titles of Marvel Comics, like they they tackle like different genres of fiction, like even though like the main bread and butter is cape fiction. So in the case of magic, like this is fantasy and not completely sword and sorcery, totally, but it does though like it touches aspects of it, but it is like it's for the most part touches on the fantasy side of the genre.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. What else do we got here? As I'm looking through, I cannot find, so I'm just going to have to be a douche here and skip over his second pick, which is the Transformers miniseries. Sorry there, Tony. We'll get to it. We'll get to it because we're coming back around to the miniseries thing, although a lot of miniseries have been mentioned. Is Neil Gaiman that one guy that got in trouble for that thing? He's one of the guys who got in trouble for that thing. What works is good, Grand Admiral says, but it fell off reading it because the image was so inconsistent. I forget who it was said that I should change the name to I Hate Image. I didn't mind them when they got good. Okay, let's go. Alice Cooper eats Bat Dissector. I think you're thinking of Ozzy Osbourne on that one. Let's go down a little bit more. Oh, Henry is pulling one out of the woodworks. My comment from last week was deleted from the video. Why? Doesn't make sense. What was your comment? Let's see if this is going to turn up anything as I look for the Punisher. The problem sometimes is when I look up, it's like these things are buried so deep, and sometimes they only, hey, here we go. All right. Dom, did you read the Punisher miniseries by Mike Zeck?
Which one?
Well, it was written by Stephen Grant.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drawn by Mike Zeck. Okay. All righty. Yeah, give us a little heads up on that.
Mike Zeck. Well, Mike Zeck was the artist, and Grant was the writer.
Okay. Is that all we know about it?
Well, I still need more context. So it's like the miniseries.
I got.
Have these in prison when it starts?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about
Daredevil.
Like, well, if you see the picture, that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading this one. I definitely call it being action packed, right? And it keeps you like engaged from beginning to end.
All right, so this is the write-up. Frank Castle, a.k.a. the Punisher, is back in prison, a place where he is #1 wanted man, a place where everyone seems to want him dead, but not as much as one man. Jigsaw makes his second appearance with the Punisher, and he wants Frank Castle dead. After coming into conflict while in prison, the warden reveals that he is a member of an organization called the Trust and frees the Punisher. Once free, Frank tries to take down the Kingpin, but too late. He realizes it was a trap. He is saved by a woman named Angela, whom he starts to develop a relationship with. Castle continues to take out gang members, but eventually realizes that the Trust are the bad guys. This leads the Punisher to take out the men that freed him from prison. That's in all honesty, this is one of those series. I haven't read it in so freaking long. I remember that I liked it when it came out. I I was a Punisher fan. I read this, and then I read the Punisher ongoing until at least about 50, 60 issues. I read Punisher War Journal, War Zone, and then I dropped off of Marvel completely about 90. I want to say 97. Then I read up to that,
Wow.
But yeah, I dug on the Punisher.
No. Well, the write-up for the miniseries sort of like helps, and yeah, no, it is pretty much like the definition like of action packed. Kind of like I enjoyed the burgeoning romance like between Frank and Angela, and it's one that he was essentially. Oh, excuse me. With him first like being released from prison to take down both Fisk, only to learn that the people who freedom like have a lot more nefarious purposes. Because knowing Frank, like he has morals like and a code of honor. So like when he learns the truth about the trust, like he pretty much like immediately gets to work and take them down, as well as like exposing their crimes.
Okay. Now, let me see. I think as I'm scrolling down, we go past Clint, who was saying his picks. I don't think your comment actually got deleted there, Clint, because I actually have your picks. Silver Surfer Requiem. We already talked about Cyberforce. Let's see, what was it? The Exiles. Yeah, I've got Exiles here as well. I had them. I was actually saying that there's a whole bunch of picks that did not get called out. That's what I was doing when I would see a title in the comments. I put the picture up when we talked about it, or we said something about it. But if you guys have been listening in, wondering why we weren't picking here, it was because we haven't heard from you. But let me go through these real quick. Here. Nobody mentioned Angela. That was something somebody mentioned in the comment section. Kingdom Come. Archie 1941. Jim picked Beauty and the Beast. I remember this was a Jim thing. Somebody brought up this, which I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about it. That's what I was saying. Tell us why you liked a miniseries. I don't know about the Delinquents, but we had the Exiles, Fantastic Four versus X-Men, Flash Rebirth, Green Lantern Rebirth, Machine Man from 1980s, Legionnaires 3, which tells me Jim must have just dropped off, Spider-Man Life Story, Silver Surfer Requiem. All of those were called out early, but nobody was here calling them during the show, so we didn't get to them. We didn't talk about them. So yeah, scratch Cyberforce off my number 4. I remember that I picked Valiant's The Delinquents. Oh, there you go. The 4-part crossover, the Quantum Woody with Archer and Armstrong. But yeah, that's actually what happened. They were just I got the covers. It was just okay. But yeah, I got your comment. It's just you weren't here for us to talk about them. Let's see. You know what? I will bring. Let me see. Let me bring up. Which ones was? But yeah, as it is, I think we're kind of winding down. But I think this is a topic we will definitely visit again. There's so many left over. Not to mention the fact that now I would kind of like to reread these things, the Nightcrawler, the Punisher, and so forth, so I can actually have something to say, because I remember loving them when they were out.
Yeah, good. Well, you say though for when we bring back if I wrote. I mean, not if I wrote, like what you're reading.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to show respect. I'm going to show respect because I have this trade paperback downstairs. Machine Man. A lot of people call this Machine Man 2020. It's not. It's Machine Man.
It's not.
Iron Man 2020 makes his first appearance in this one.
That's true.
And we actually start this this off. By the way, Barry Windsor Smith is one of those artists that have a style. And anytime somebody has a style, it's either loved or it's hated. You know, it's that kind of thing. I love Barry Windsor Smith art.
Same here.
And we start off with a group of kids. They're going through a junkyard, trying to find bits and pieces and parts and such, trying to avoid the cops. It's, as Eric hates, it's a bit of a futuristic dystopian, meaning it really is. If you looked around, it would be kind of utopian because everything's clean, everything looks right, but the lawmakers are a bit harsh. As these kids are looking for computer parts, they come across Machine Man. He's a relic. He's off the grid, and they rebuild him. And come to find out that the people he knows are actually the people who are in charge now and are a little bit dictatorial. It's a great sci-fi series. I know you could count Machine Man as a superhero, but I would count this book as a sci-fi series. That really works on that level. Man, I cannot tell you how much I recommend this book.
I recommend it too.
Yeah, if I get it, I would, and I put it in the miniseries. Just do yourself a favor. It is worth a pickup. You want to say something, Eric and/or Dom?
No, I don't have anything to add to that.
Have you ever read it?
Probably when it came out.
About 40 years ago. Yeah, that's part of it, guys. We're trying to remember. Me and Eric are trying to remember 40 years ago. Yeah. Okay, Dom, how about you?
Yeah, I've read this before. As well as the original Machine Man series. There's a criminally underrated superhero, and you're right. Well, even though Machine Man is a superhero, but with the miniseries, they're it really digs into not just sci-fi genre, but also is the subgenre of cyberpunk. But even though with the setting, it looks utopia, but there's an underbelly of it. So it's not in the end, and things do turn around.
Hold on just a sec. Good night, Slick. Take care, man. Be safe. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Nice flick. I was saying, in the end, and things do turn around. Well, with Machine Man, as he does everything, everything as well as the assistance of his friends and allies to pretty much take down the people who made him, who has fallen from grace.
Okay. Yeah. Let me read this because it's Clint's pick. It was on my list of things to pick, but I was like, oh my gosh, because I had a stack of my mini series trade paperbacks and this was in it. And it was like, okay, I'm going to put this one back. I'll talk about the ones I chose, obviously. But let's see. Clint says about this, dude, is that Machine Man story not the coolest? It is, in fact, at least one of the coolest. It's so good. I enjoyed it immensely. It's dark. It's dark future cyberpunk. It really is. It really is really cool. I do recommend it. Alrighty, you can make another stream based on. Dude, tonight has been mostly about the user picks. I mean, we all each have our 4, except for Eric, who only picked 3. But otherwise, most of tonight has been us talking about y'all's picks. All right, but Brooklyn, before we leave, Brooklyn wanted to make sure that we talked about Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come is, by the way, is an absolute fantastic story, but it has a little bit of nostalgia for me. I have the original trade paperback downstairs, and I will never get rid of it, nor will I allow damage to it, because this is I think this is the only book Gail has ever walked into a comic book shop by herself and picked up. And it was a Christmas present. You remember that, Gail? Nope. But yeah, this was actually no, no. There were two. There were two. This one and Crisis on Infinite Earths. She bought those. She bought those for me. That might have been at the same time. Now, of course, this was a response to what Eric said earlier. The long hair, violent anti-hero was making a rise. You actually had, in some cases, heroes that, if you wouldn't be surprised if a villain had done the same thing that the heroes were doing. So in this case, you have the Spectre come down. He needs to pass judgment on Earth, on these heroes, these violent people. And so he decides to incorporate a priest, because the Spectre has lost his moral judgment. Yep. So he wants the priest to watch scenes from what is going on, what is happening around the planet with the heroes, the anti-heroes, the humans, and everything, because the Spectre knows what's coming to a boil, and he wants to be able to judge this properly. Like, who is in the wrong here? Who needs punishment for the actions? Superman's in exile because he fought a character, I believe it was called Gog or Magog.
No, it's Gog. No, Magog. He was Magog. He was essentially the well, not the leader, but he was essentially the figure for this new wave of violent heroes.
Okay. Yeah, and they ended up destroying Kansas, and this sent Superman into exile. But he's pulled out because, once again, there's this problem with the new set of superheroes that don't seem to be fighting to help people.
Yeah, like they're not so. Essentially, like they want to take the law into their own hands. And with Clark, like initially, like he wanted to show these new heroes like this is not the way, but the new heroes and also like the public, they actually prefer like this new generation of heroes, and with Clark, instead of following what everyone else is doing, he, as you mentioned earlier, he went to exile.
Yeah, and it's pointed out that the new crop of superheroes just want to fight. They don't want to fight to help people. So everything comes to a head. One of the greatest moments I mentioned in when we were talking about greatest moments in comics, I actually brought something up from here. At the end, everything comes to a head where the new heroes are fighting the old heroes, and Earth decides they could get rid of most of the problem if they just drop a nuke. So a nuke comes. Superman hears this and he decides to stop the nukes, but Shazam stops him, and that's when it says the apocalypse is here or something like that. And it's such a great moment. This is obviously art by Alex Ross, which I always loved. Tim Lim of Iconic Comics, we were having dinner once, and I said, yeah, I love Alex Ross art. And he goes, well, it's great art. It's not good comic book art. And I was like, what? Huh? I've never heard anybody say that Alex Ross was not great comic book art. And he's kind of messed things up for me a little bit. Let me explain what Tim Lim said. He said, Alex Ross is great. He said, Alex Ross is a great artist. He can paint a picture and it would look great. He says, but there's no movement. When you look at a great comic book page, within the panels, there should be movement. You should actually sense that things are going on around. Alex Ross tells stories in still images. And ever since he mentioned that, I don't know if it influenced me or if I'm seeing what he was talking about. That is exactly how I see it now. That Alex Ross is basically, his art is based on still images rather than an actual page that moves. Yeah, sequential art. Yes, but that still doesn't faze me for the enjoyment of the story. How about you, Dom? You want to say something before we go?
Well, as mentioned with the others, like Kingdom Come like is a modern timeless classic that people like still talk about, and it also is an example of a surge of comic books and graphic novels that essentially serve as a a reconstruction and a super versive of cape fiction and the archetypes associated with them. Let's remind people, that yeah, while these new crop of heroes and anti-heroes, they may be all well and good, but you still need the traditional aspirational heroes to not only guide them but also the public to let them know that no, with great not only with great power comes with great responsibility, but ultimately only you cannot take the law into your own hands
Right.
because there is a chance of there's a possibility of someone of misusing it, and and not only does the art by Alex Ross helps convey that because he is the Norman Rockwell of comic books, but it also allowed him to showcase his capabilities as a writer, and in spite of what people say, Alex Ross he is the writer. He is the writer and understood the homework assignment for Kingdom Come. With Wade he assisted Ross in cleaning up and refining the dialogue. So while he may have assisted in the writing of Kingdom Come, he's not the writer. It's
Right.
all Alex Ross.
Okay. Let me go to Lord of Brooklyn since it was his pick, and after this we're going to call it. But let's see. Once again, Alan Moore claims that Kingdom Come is really his pitch to DC called Twilight of the Superheroes. Does that have anything to do with the Twilight miniseries I see in the 1980s? Magog is protege of Gog. Let's see. Austin is saying Magog just sounds like the name of some sort of Celtic or Celtic Canaanite pagan god. Lord is Brooklyn is also saying Magog is from Scripture, yes, and then Kingdom Come was a repudiation of 90s Image Comics, as well as, like I said, yeah. But there you go. Unless you want to say something, Eric, we all good?
We're good.
Okay, all right, kids. That is that. What started off is we're going to pick 4. You pick 4. This was a big ass night of miniseries, man. There was a lot to choose from, and we didn't even get to everything. As I said before, nobody called this. And by the way, we will do this again, or we will just talk about Archie 1941. This is incredible, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm not going to say could. This is the best thing Mark Waid has ever written. Great stories all around, guys. I also would love to talk about this one. I was looking forward to it. But we have a lot left over. But for now, we got to call it. We've been 2.5 hours in. Next week, we want to hear your story. So it's going to be a little bit more. You can either jump on with us and tell it or leave it in the comment section. What was the comic book? What was the comic books that started you off as a collector? What was it that brought you in? You know, were you one of the lonely few who found validation through the heroes that you saw in the 4-color comics? What was it? I would love to hear that. Was it just a friend who said, hey, you should read this? Okay, that's a story too. But that's going to be next Wednesday. So please, come watch that. And then on Friday, this Friday, we are having, what is it? The first episode of our 19th season. So good times. What would that be? Our first episode of the 19th season of Cover Rankings is Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love. Some great 1970s Gothic covers will be awesome. And with that, have a good night. Thank you very, very much for watching.
See you all later.